This week, if we take a look at our syllabus, we are moving into our sales discussion. So we've got 2 weeks left. This week will be obviously week one of kind of initially discussing sales, and then we'll move into our assignment for next week to close things down for the semester. And the assignment due on the 15th will be, I guess, the final assignment of the semester. So let me share my screen here to discuss. Come on. This is always, there should be one button. That's my personal opinion. Let's see, share screen. Share. All right. Hopefully you can see this. So I'm in modules under sales. You can see we've got a few different videos talking about profit and pricing, payments, customer acquisition, some different things like that. I've got a video down here, which is developing a sales funnel.
Today we're going to be talking about.
That's fun that it's just autoplaying, but this is something I recorded a few years ago, I guess, at this point. And just kind of goes over some material that's in the booklet that is on my website that I'll be pulling up here in a few minutes as well. So definitely take a look at this. It kind of walks things through. If you're the type of person that responds better to video versus reading, that'll help you out. Cool. The rest of these are obviously designed to supplement kind of what I'm talking about here. So there is good information in here that'll help you in the assignment next week. So definitely take a look and watch what's included here. That said, this week I want to talk about an overview about what sales is, how to think about sales, what the point of sales is, and maybe why it's last on what we're talking about here when we're discussing managing a small business. And then lead that into a discussion question for this week. And we'll go from there. Okay. So let me pull up my notes here. So I think the reason sales is last is, in my mind, sales is the most important activity of a small business. Basically, if you're unable to generate sales, you can have the best strategy, the best financial, planning and accounting, the best marketing. If you're unable to close a sale, none of it matters. So, my personal opinion is this is where the bulk majority of your effort should go to, and these other things are important, but frankly secondary. And I think sales is one of those things. I know for me, it's quite unnatural. And it isn't something that I thought I was good at. And I don't think I was good at it. It's something that I worked on for a long time, and I've had to break a lot of habits and continue to, struggle and work to break habits. But it's something that I found I think I really enjoy. There's definitely aspects of it I don't, thoroughly enjoy, but for the most part, it's fun. And I think it can be the most fun part of business, mainly because I think the mentality, of a good salesperson is, in some respects, sales is competing with the rest of your business. And essentially what sales's job is to provide the customer, basically the greatest amount of value as they can, and essentially work against the business they're working for, to the benefit of the customer. And I think that's like counterintuitive. It definitely, like, it feels like it shouldn't be that way, but what customers really want is, customers want somebody that's working for them. Customers want somebody that, like, authentically cares about them. And the only way to authentically to care about someone is to actually care about them, to actually care, that they get the best solution for whatever their needs are. And I think what you'll find, the reality is, most solutions most solutions are the wrong solution for a particular customer. Meaning, for the majority of people, your product or service is not going to be the right fit. Now, that doesn't mean for your customers, your product is the wrong fit. For your customers, it's perfect. But what that means is the majority of people are not your customer. Just a fact. The majority of people are not in the world, or if we look at, like, if we just talk about the majority being 51% of people in the world are not going to buy your product. In a global market, in a local market, 51% of people in a local market are not going to buy your product. Something significantly smaller than that are going to buy your product, which means, your job is to find those people that are willing to buy and think about who they are. Now, you may be developing a product. Let's say we're developing a food and beverage product, and you think, your product is the perfect fit for every single convenience store. Well, the reality is that's not true. At least it's not true today. It might be true someday, but the reality is, like, your product is the right fit for certain stores and certain convenience stores and certain stores that have a certain set of parameters. And what the job of a sales and marketing team is to determine what are those traits. How do we, where we're having the successes, how do we bundle those customer attributes together so that we can, more easily seek more of those types of customers. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. I don't know. So I realize I'm still sharing my screen here, so I'll stop sharing here for a second because I don't have anything to share. We'll jump into the book in a minute. There are kind of like three kind of base pieces or base roles of sales. And those three are prospecting, closing, and account management. And I want to talk about the two bookends there, prospecting, account management, and then we'll talk about closing. So prospecting is the process that we go through to attract new potential customers and clients. All right, so getting new people into the door to essentially, be closed. All right, so we want to attract new people into the door to talk about our product. We want them to sign on to use our product or service, and then the account management side is we manage the account, and we either continue having them buy if they're in like a recurring relationship, or we, maybe come to them when it's time to reorder, or we ask them how they liked the product and if they'd give a review, or something like that. That's the account management side of things. So to me, the prospecting is kind of that getting a new customer into the door, I would ask, is that a sales or a marketing role? And depending on your company, that's going to be a question that in some respect only you can answer. It's kind of that gray area tie-in of like, where does sales begin and marketing end? And different people will have different answers to that. I think sales can do prospecting, and I think sales and sales opinion should help kind of drive the prospecting efforts, and the data that sales generates via its efforts should inform what you do to prospect. But to me, like, prospecting is frankly more of a marketing role than it is sales. Now, account management on the other side is where a customer's already in the door, they've already purchased our product, and essentially we're talking to them and discussing, making sure they're happy, basically. And a lot of people attribute that to sales. And I would argue that that's operations. And that is another gray area where, like, yes, it could be considered a sales role, but the reality is the majority of the work is already completed. And, our operations are hopefully designed to keep a customer happy and continuing to use our product. So that leaves closing. Getting an interested party over the line and actually creating their first purchase. That to me is sales. That one simple, I've already got a warm lead. They already know who our product is. I need to get them to purchase. That to me is the role of sales. Now, I think that's gotten a little perverse in kind of the modern digital economy where, the majority of, like, you get a customer to come to your website and then they click a button and they've purchased it and they don't ever talk to anybody or do anything. That kind of sales process, the close is frankly on the customer, and kind of your website is what's doing the majority the work of a closer on who sales is. So if you have that type of company and that type of process and you've gotten that far, hats off to you. That's incredible. I think the majority of small businesses are not going to find that to be the case. Customers are going to demand to speak to you. They're going to want to talk to somebody before they purchase your product. And unless you have significant amounts of capital to really refine and hone your online checkout process, good luck. It's going to be tough. So I think when we're talking about sales in this course, we're talking about that close, and that's what you should want to think about. You should want your marketing efforts to bring new potential customers to the door. You should inform those prospecting efforts with things like close rates and sales opinions on, are we getting the right type of people into the doors that are even closable? Why aren't they closable? All those types of things. And then, think about that. What sales does is, once sales is closed, sales, hands that customer over, maybe not immediately, because, there is some relationship building that happens. And oftentimes a customer client wants a salesperson, to stay on board. But basically, you're going to want to hand that client off to a customer management manager and go and do the next sale, the next close. So how do we increase our chances of a close? Well, we already discussed, you want to be authentic. Your job as a salesman is to find out, like, why is this person interested in your product? Are they interested in your product? Did they just click on a random link? What are they trying to find? What are their needs, wants, and desires? No customer wants to pay any money. So determining whether or not they want your product for free, they do want your product for free. Determining, if they're willing to pay, that's a art in itself. And so determining what they're willing to pay for, how they're willing to pay, what types of service they demand, what type of product needs they care about. that's all kind of wrapped into the close process. In order to kind of be authentic, there's two things I think you can focus on. One is effective communication, and two is building rapport. Start with the latter one. Building rapport means, essentially becoming someone's friend. And building trust might be another way to talk about that. Especially in today's age, trust is hard. Like building trust digitally is especially hard when you can't look, feel, touch somebody. Building trust is really difficult. Building trust digitally is tough. It takes a different skill set. It takes more time. I think that's another thing about rapport. Rapport takes time. If you think you can build rapport in one meeting, good luck. It takes a lot of time to do these things. So, sticking it out, making sure you're guiding the process. If you meet with somebody, scheduling another meeting, talking preemptively about what you're going to talk about in that next meeting, giving people assignments, ensuring that they're showing up, with whatever, you ask them to do. So, you're not wasting your time, check people, make sure that they're part of the process. Like, you shouldn't just be giving away your time and not, receiving something back. And when I say receive something back, it doesn't mean you're receiving something of value, but I know when I work with new potential clients, a lot of the time I'm advising on like building software. You don't just jump in and start building. Like, you need to understand what and why you're building it, who the customer is, what people care about, what people don't care about, where do you want to put your money. Resources aren't infinite. So assigning the potential client, like, hey, go draw out some pictures of what this website should look like. I get it, you're describing it to me, like, show me in pictures. And maybe that's helpful, maybe it isn't. Like, it's actually not even the point. The point is to, like, did they do the work and then show up in the meeting, and then was there something to talk about? If they're so scatterbrained that they don't have the time to do the task that you're asking them to do and show up at a meeting empty-handed and then expect you to work for free, you're in a relationship that's never going to work. So you want to make sure people are valuing your time. You want to make sure you put, things on them to do as you work through the sales process, and make sure that you are both working to close, and that, you're both putting forth effort and not just one side of the party. That's maybe the worst thing as a salesperson. If you've put all the work in and the client hasn't, and then you end up not getting it, you haven't even learned anything. At least if you've, you may not earn the business, but if you've learned something about a new industry or something like that, like, all right, like, maybe you didn't get paid, but you got paid in knowledge at least. But if you don't even do that, like, you just, you spent all this time, didn't learn anything. The next thing is effective communication. And with effective communication, there's a whole nother class in effectively communicating. But one, understanding that, like, communication takes time. We don't just understand every single thing people say the first time around. Two, setting goals. So like I said, like, we're gonna have a meeting, and this is what I want to talk about at the next meeting. If you could, produce X, Y, and Z so that we can take a look at that at the meeting, that'll help guide the conversation. So setting goals, setting objectives, being clear, asking people if they understand, and then holding people accountable. If they show up and they don't have it, I mean, should you carry out the meeting? Maybe you don't want to turn somebody off that much. Like, things do come up, but being like, there's nothing for us to look at, maybe we should delay this a week. And if you can put that together, that assignment together that I asked for, we can conduct a better meeting the next time. So being really clear, being really direct, it's not being mean, it's being direct. It's letting people know how you feel. That to me is effective communication. Not being non-emotional is really hard. Especially when money is on the line, when reputation's on the line. So, try to take it out of that and just realize, like, look, you're not going to land all your sales. But you need to treat it, you need to treat kind of all potential clients the same, but be careful of yourself. And, if a relationship, if you see a relationship not going right, it's okay for you to walk too. It's not always up to the client to say no. You can say no. So keep that in your back pocket. All right, so that's the different types of sales processes, managing how we build rapport and use effective communication. Talked a little bit about the digital divide and kind of how maybe the sales process has changed. So before we get to kind of this week's discussion, I think the other thing you want to think about is you really want to understand your product really well and really understand like what you're selling. Meaning, like, yeah, you may have a widget, right? You may have a thing, whatever, a car key. Yeah, this thing is what I'm selling. Well, the reality is this thing is not what I'm selling. If I'm selling a car key, I'm selling security, right? I'm selling somebody doesn't, cars are getting stolen, and I have a way of stopping people from getting their car stolen. There are other ways to stop people from getting their car stolen. Take all the gas out of the gas tank so they can't drive away. Put, a boot or a wedge that goes on the front tire. Take the engine out. I know that's like, it's impractical, right? But the point is, like, there are a set of solutions for the problem of the problem the customer's having isn't that they need a key or whatever. Like, this is, if I'm selling a key to cars before they had keys, let's say, I'm selling an add-on ignition starter that's key locked. The problem they're having isn't that they need a new key. The problem they're having is the car is getting stolen. And how do you stop cars from getting stolen? Oh, well, we've got this simple, affordable device that causes that. So, what you're really selling is you're selling a solution to a problem. Your solution doesn't really matter, other than it needs to solve the problem at the price point and in a manner that delights the customer. That's it. So, that's why, we really want to focus. And if you go back to the 129 course, which you may or may not have taken, it's why we focus a lot on thinking about problems versus thinking about solutions. And when you're selling, you kind of want to sell to the problem as well. You want to, identifying what the customer's actual problem is, and then why your solution is the best solution. That's the key. Sell the problems. So, is there, selling the problems, there might be a feature that, simply a feature of the product might be the key ticket to closing the sale. It might be price. I don't like selling on price because, frankly, I think that causes us to cut our legs out. But, maybe it is. Maybe you were able to corner the market on figuring out how to get something cheaper than other people. And it could be a whole host of things. But what we want to think about is what is the problem the customer is having? What do they actually really care about? And let me shift the conversation to that. Let's talk about your problem. Let me show you that I understand your problem, and let me show you that, like, yeah, there's a million solutions, but this one's the best. Or this one's pretty good. Like this one's pretty good and it's available now at, and it's fair and I'm here to help you. And I think I think the risk is worth it that, maybe you didn't purchase the right thing, but like I'm gonna be here to help and support you. So that goes again to building rapport and helping people out. I think that I'm gonna cut this video off here and I'll record another one I'll record another one below this that's talking more about the discussion assignment. Actually, I'll post that in the discussion assignment shortly. All right, thanks.